Loners Stay Together, an original novel by Robert Napier. Narration and images powered by AI. Chapter 1. Hi. My name is Cassandra Loner, and I'd like to tell you how my brother died. To be fair, I wasn't present for everything I'm about to tell you. But I talked to everyone still living that was a part of it. I got to see the house myself, albeit in a different condition. The physical details are all true and mostly verifiable. Anyway, there's no reason to question the layout or decor of the house. The events are what matter. My editor says I should start with action, not some introspective monologue from someone you don't care about. Personally, I hate long preambles, so I'll do my best to keep it brief. Bear in mind I've taken some necessary liberties, mostly on my editor's insistence. But rest assured that this is the official story that went to trial. No one came forward to contradict it. Believe it or don't. The fact is, 11 people ultimately died because of what happened out there. I'm a private detective. I used to work for the FBI, but I tend not to flourish in a structured environment. Don't underestimate my ability to get kicked out of things. Classrooms, fancy parties, work meetings, social networks, relationships, you name it. I never made it to full-blown special agent at the Bureau. They said I could be overbearing, overzealous, overly assertive, overly analytical, and just generally over. I told them to suck it, in writing. I can tell you all about it sometime, but this ain't that time. Quick facts. I'm a perfect private dick. And any dick worth his fedora would immediately ask, oh yeah, why's that? A couple of reasons. 1, I hate people. I see the worst in everyone, but I don't dwell on it. I don't fall into the trap of thinking no one could do this or that to someone else. I'm paid for results, and I don't get all sentimental about it. 2, maybe this should have been number 1, but I'm smarter than everyone else. When I say everyone else, I don't mean everybody in the world. I mean that the people I deal with on a daily basis don't have that on me, you know? It's the only reason I lasted as long as I did with the feds. If you're one of those successful types, and I respect that, let me tell you something you probably don't know. Intelligence does not equal success. 3, so this is more than a couple, but I should also mention that, basically, this is what I was born to do. No shit. See, some folks adopt a profession. They adopt a profession like they shop around, then pick something and settle into it. Other folks, they're born to do something. I don't know how to put it, like the singer's gotta sing and the runner's gotta run. Really archetypal stuff. And the liar, the cheater, the thief, the killers always say that. I mean, the killer's worth talking about. They say they're just born that way, so they can't help it. Pfft, that's fine, you know? 'Cause guess what, shit for brains, if you're born to be a piece of shit, I'm born to bust your ass. See? I was born to get you. Also, I like ice cream. Any flavor. Really? Okay. Not something you just made up, but for the most part, any flavor, day or night. Ice cream's all right. I just couldn't make it happen. Brian always said it would end this way. The last 8 months had been one long, I told you so. And I bet that just tickles him to death. Yeah, Brian, my ex-husband. We don't see each other much anymore. We separated when he took that job in Washington. The other Washington, the Pacific Northwest. Crunching numbers for some lumber company or miners or something. Shit, who cares? We used to get some work from big companies like that wanted us to run background checks, due diligence, fraudulent insurance claims, and even the occasional sweep for bugs. The part I always liked was the summons and subpoenas, you know? That was fun. But most of our work was really personal stuff. Divorce, alimony, custody. It's no wonder we're both so jaded, we didn't even have a dog. And I could be pissed at him for leaving, couldn't I? Not really. He wouldn't have had to take that job if I hadn't sunk our life savings into the PI business. Sank? Sunk? Whatever. Just one more thing I failed at. Christ. Maybe I'm not that smart after all. I mean, shouldn't smart people make money? Isn't that the thing to do? My parents look at me and you know they say, if you're so smart, why are you so broke? They don't actually say that, but they're rich and successful, and I'm just not. Not that I care what my family thinks. At least I didn't used to. But something happened that changed all that. Actually, several things. Death, murder, secrets, drugs, crime, sex, and money. The usual succotash. Casserole? Families are like a casserole. If you want to enjoy it, you should make it yourself. Now me. I'm a small-town girl who has always dreamed of the big city. Big cities have a lot to offer us dreamers. But don't turn your back on a small town. They have all the same vices and virtues as the city, but everything is much more personal, intimate, gradual, and familial. So, I'd like to take a moment to tell you how my brother died. About 23 miles southwest of blank university, you might find yourself in blank town. After a slow drift through the quaint and sleepy meth-filled downtown area, past the one-story hospital and the Historical Society building, you twist yourself into a wooded and hill-studded rural area. The drive itself suggests a contrast between the suburbs and shrubberies of University Town and the speed-trapped, potholed four-way stops of the land that highways forgot. They are two different worlds with their own languages and customs, dress codes, and life cycles. Around the university, however small, there's a constant rotation of young people only there to party, fuck, and graduate with a seal of approval. They're not interested in local politics, except as a kind of microcosm to tinker with. A surreality they can shake and poke when they need to write a thesis. Meanwhile, in the surrounding county, life has a demoralizing permanence. Somehow, all that tuition money never makes it past the railroad tracks, instead breezing off to faraway accounts, changing hands like Marilyn Monroe with the wind, upper skirt. Odds are you fall into one of these categories, and that's who you're going to identify with. Both worlds deserve their due, and I've tried to show that. Like a whirlwind fit to inherit, it takes two oppositional fronts to make it happen. So now you and I are going to ride that whirlwind, and if nothing else, we'll get dizzy from it. Somewhere in that rant, I mentioned the hospital. There it is, next to the Historical Society building. That's where the two worlds intersect. Doctors and patients with a shit ton of insurance and pharmaceuticals crammed in between. Drugs, drugs, drugs. I won't waste your time with some exposé. You already know that shit. We all do. I can't live with them, can't live without them, because we're fucking pathological. Anyway, the university owns the hospital. Or maybe it's the other way around? They got the same name, so what does that mean? It's a teaching hospital, which means you sign a waiver agreeing to be a fucking guinea pig for what the fuck ever. Oh hey, are you bleeding from the head? Just sign this and somebody fuck, I don't know who. But they'll have scrubs on, they'll give you an $8,000 Band-Aid and send you on your way. But it's not their fault. It's the insurance companies, man. But don't go knocking on their doors. It's the lawyers up their asses. Eat them first, they say. And you already know that shit. So, in the midst of this melee, Dr. Deacon Voynich sees an opportunity there. More on him later? I promise you'll be sick of that name. The only problem is the bureaucrats won't let him work. And I'm not a mind reader, but I tend to think he had good, but not noble, intentions. At least at the outset. We don't know because he's dead. At the further edge of the county, you can skid onto a gravel road that quickly turns to rutted dirt. Not the kind of place you want to take a classic hot rod, but that's not what's on our minds. As each gust of wind parts the branches, you can make out the ominous structure peeking between the boughs. They call it the Dream House. It was an unfinished ranch-style home that was abandoned 3/4 through construction. Family tragedy leads to financial problems, etc. It doesn't matter. The house sat on hundreds of acres that had been manicured lawns, now overgrown by elm, crabapple, and redbud trees that had been planted along the property line. Loggers are still trying to bypass the legal tape keeping them out. There's like a fucking owl or bat that lives out there. I was going to check before writing this, but if you can't take my word for it, then we won't get very far with this. On one hand, you've got the university spooning with the hospital, who's spooning with Big Pharma, who's spooning with politicians, who are spooning with law enforcement who are just doing their gosh darndest to weed out, ha pun nice, the illegal drugs eroding the moral fibers of the community. It spoons all the way down. And then you've got my book in your other hand. So, I mean, you're all right in my book. Now, as we proceed, I'd like you to keep in mind some of those "how the fuck did that happen" hallmarks of the 20th century. I'm talking about the Manson family and Jim Jones, the Kool-Aid and the mothership and all that, but also institutional shit like the Milgram experiment or the Stanford prison experiment. Okay, so that's the shit you hear about, okay? But what about what you don't?
Hello, listener. My name is Robert Napier. I just wanted to say thank you for your support. If you enjoy this content or have suggestions on how to improve on it, please leave a like or comment. It would mean a lot, and I'd really appreciate it. Consider subscribing so you never miss an episode. Thank you.